What is a lie? It's a deviation from the truth. It's covering up or making an excuse for something else. It is a way of escaping from a consequence sometimes.
Pretty certain that the moment that I know that what I'm saying, revealing by my actions or whatever, is not the actual truth, that's a lie. And it can be a passive lie, a semi-active lie, and a very heinous kind of lie, and I don't think it's morally any different.
So what is truth? Truth is the accepted norm, I think, for many things.
So yeah, there would be a popular notion that truth is something quite fixed and particular, and if you step outside that, you're in the realm of something which isn't truth and is therefore potentially, well, certainly wrong and maybe even dangerous. Whereas my perception would be that truth has something to do with God, and that lies within us. The divine is within us, not some external fixed thing that is out here, and therefore that lends itself perfectly to a perspective. The individual is absolutely key to this, and therefore lying is a much harder thing to identify because you can't identify it unless you relate to the individual.
We only see it through our own experience in those cases, don't we? It's what we've already experienced that colours what we think of as the truth, doesn't it?
Truth feels like something that is vital to, I would say, any faith perspective, actually. It's a kind of a notion that we talk about without really exploring what it means. When I first read your email and, you know, is it ever ethical to lie to a patient, I very quickly just thought, no, it is never ethical to lie, and for quite a long time couldn't think of any scenario in which it would ever be.
Well, one, because God said it, do not lie. That's a big one. When we're children, we're always taught it's much easier to tell the truth because if you tell one lie, you'll have to tell a lot more. And I think that isn't just for children. I think adults need to remember that too.
You know, they would say God supports the truth, therefore always tell the truth. Now that's a spiritual Christian viewpoint, which I find difficult. I don't think we're bound by these things when we're moving spiritually, you know, when we're moving with God. I think there is leeway, there is a kindness that can come in that, you know, sometimes you say, well, I've got to tell the truth. It can be quite harsh.
People who are treating other people medically need to be trustworthy persons, they need to be virtuous and moral persons.
That's the thing about lying in a professional place. How can you ever be trusted if you're going to lie?
So, for example, when you're explaining risks to a patient, you might present the statistics in a favourable way if you want them to undergo the procedure, or in an unfavourable way if you don't. And obviously, although that's not strictly not telling the truth, you are manipulating the statistics.
If a patient's consent is to be truly informed, then autonomy becomes the main principle that is important. And truth-telling is absolutely vital because it's the precondition for autonomy.
I think there have been occasions where I've had either the patient saying, I don't want my relatives to know, or the relatives saying, please don't tell mum what the real diagnosis is.
Sometimes telling someone the truth could cause them distress, so perhaps lying to them may be the best way to be non-maleficent in those situations.
Okay, so in some situations, consequences of lying might be more favourable than telling the truth, but you can never fully predict what the consequences are going to be, and you never know the full consequences of what you're saying until it happens.
And you can't avoid the truth because you don't want the patient's reaction, because you don't want to deal with their crying or their hysterics or whatever. That's not ever a reason to avoid the truth. Absolutely not.
It's busy, and you, in a way, you do what's easiest, and that may end up being something a bit untruthful. But when you look at the whole picture and see the kind of pressure that you're under,
you cannot tell somebody over and over again something which is not their reality.
So I can go along with like people with dementia that you would bend the facts to relieve them of distress.
You have to find a way of moving the person along in a way that they're going to respond positively to, but also is not going to cause more distress when they get there because it's not what you've told them.
It's ethical for them to reassess the truth, to meet the person in their reality.
So any withholding of truth can only be justified if it's entirely in the patient's interest, not in the doctor's interest. In the patient's interest, not in the family's interest or general society's interest.
You know, Jesus said to his disciples, didn't he, I've got much more to tell you, but you're not ready for all the things I have to tell you. And I think that it's very necessary to think, where is this person coming from? Who are they? What is their comprehension? And the truth can be delivered in little pieces, gradually, according to how that would be most helpful to that patient, without telling lies.
You have to phrase the truth in a way that is kind and can be accepted, not acceptable, but can be accepted by the person that you're talking to.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there is a clear concept of a lie or of truth, and therefore the more important factors in deciding whether or not it's ethical to lie to a patient become issues around the individual's experience, their perception of reality, and the healthcare professional's intentions. And those things may collide to create a situation where what could quite objectively be seen as telling a person a lie is actually a very ethical thing to do, whereas telling them what might be concrete scientific truth might not be good for them.